All right, you guys set these up the same way you do the other ones, where you want your x squared term, your x term, then do plus a space, and move this guy to the other side. And so it's a positive 6, and then do plus a space. We're going to make the left-hand side a perfect square trinomial. So the difference between these and the ones you did before is there's a coefficient in front of x squared. So we have an extra step, which is just to divide by that number so that I get a 1x. And when you do that, you have to divide all three things. So now this cancels, which is what I want. I want just an x squared. And now I have a 5/3 x in the middle here. And if these divide nicely, go ahead and make that 2. And then from here, it's the same process as before, okay? But we have an annoying fraction. That's okay. We still take half of 5/3. That is like multiplying by a half, or multiplying the denominator by 2, okay? So if I want to take half of this, that is 5/6. I strongly suggest you write this underneath. A lot of people try to do this in your head. It really does help you write the half and then squared because you're going to need it in the next step, okay? So I took half of 5/3, made it 5/6. I'm going to square it. So 5 squared is 25, and 6 squared is 36. So I'm adding 25 over 36. All right, so now this is a perfect square trinomial right here, and it factors. And you're looking for what multiplies to 25 over 36 and adds to 5/3. And you don't have to think much if you wrote this step down because it's always the half. If this is positive, so is this. So we do x plus 5/6. And instead of writing it twice, we say squared. All right, this 2 is over 1. We're just adding these together. We need a common denominator, so we multiply by 36 over 36. So this is 72 over 36 plus 25 over 36. There will be some of these that are no calc, so I mean you can use your calculator to make sure you got the fractions right, but just make sure you know how to do them, okay? So then these add to be 97 over 36. And then we solve how we've been solving. So I'm going to take the square root of both sides. And that undoes the square and leaves me with x plus 5/6. Don't forget your plus or minus. And on this one, usually the bottom number's nice and the top number's not. So 97 does not simplify at all. So you leave it as the square root of 97. But the square root of 36 is 6. And then my final step is to subtract the 5/6. So I'm going to just move it to the other side and make it negative. And we have our answer. Okay, we just have one more. Solve by completing the square. So start by putting in order. So I have 3x squared minus x plus a space. So always your x squared term, then your x. And whatever your constant is, we move to the other side here. So it's a positive 1 now when I move it over. And then because there's a coefficient in front, we have to divide everything by whatever that number is. So I'm going to divide by 3. And remember, there are 3 terms. You're dividing by 3. So now I have x squared. There is really a negative 1 that you don't see here. So I'm going to write this as a negative 1/3 x. And over here is a 1/3. Okay, now we take half the middle number. What is half of negative 1/3? Brody? Yeah, negative 1/6. You're multiplying by 1/2 or timesing the denominator by 2. Okay, and then we square it. Now, a couple people on the test put a negative here. You're always going to have a positive because there's parentheses around that. You're squaring the whole thing. So you're squaring negative 1, which is positive 1, and you're squaring 6, which is 36. So this is 1 over 36. Again, this is a perfect square trinomial, and it will always factor x minus a sixth, x minus a sixth. Whatever your half is how it factors. So again, showing this step really helps you get this step correct. Now I got to add these. So 3 goes into 36 12 times. So I'm going to multiply by 12 over 12. So I'm adding 12 over 36 plus 1 over 36, which is 13 over 36. And then we square root both sides, which leaves me with x minus a sixth. Don't forget your plus or minus. Again, the square root of 13 doesn't simplify, but the square root of 36 is 6. And then move your negative 1/6 over. So it's a positive 1/6 plus or minus the square root of 13 over 6.